The morning sun poured through the tall windows of Eastbridge High, lighting up the busy hallways. Students hurried between classes, laughing and chatting with friends. Lockers slammed shut, sneakers squeaked on the polished floors, and the air buzzed with the usual school day noise. Maya Johnson walked quietly through the crowd. She was 16, known as one of the smartest kids in school. Most days she kept to herself, never loud, never causing trouble. Teachers liked her because she always did her work, but today something was different. Her steps felt slower, her eyes heavy and distant. She barely noticed the noise around her. Instead of the usual bright smile or polite "Good morning," her face was tired, her hoodie was pulled tight around her, like a shield. As she passed by, Mrs. Carter, the English teacher, stopped her with a sharp look. "Maya." "Good morning," Mrs. Carter said, her voice cold. Maya blinked, surprised. She hadn't said anything. Mrs. Carter frowned. "No greeting. That's not polite." Maya wanted to explain, but the words stuck in her throat. She nodded quietly and walked away, feeling a strange knot in her stomach. No one saw the tears behind her eyes. In history class, the room was filled with the usual chatter as Mr. Benton started his lesson. The walls were covered with posters of famous leaders and moments from the past. Today he was talking about the civil rights movement. Back then, Mr. Benton said, people just wanted attention. They thought protesting would change the world overnight. But most of them didn't really understand what they were doing. Maya's hand shot up. She was the only one who dared to question him. "Mr. Benton," she said quietly but firmly, "that's not true. Many people risked their lives for equal rights. It wasn't about attention, it was about justice." Mr. Benton looked surprised. His eyes narrowed. "You think you know better than me?" Maya took a deep breath. "I'm just saying the facts. People fought for freedom because it was right, not for attention." Some students whispered. A few nodded, but the room felt tense. After class ended, Maya gathered her things, but the teacher stopped her at the door. "See me in the principal's office," Mr. Benton said without looking at her. Maya's heart sank. She wondered what she had done wrong. At the office, Principal Reynolds sat behind a big desk, arms crossed. His face was serious. "Maya," he said, "we've had complaints about your attitude in class. You're being suspended for disrupting the learning environment." Maya's voice was soft but steady. "I was just answering a question." The principal shook his head. "It's not about the answer, it's how you said it. We expect respect here." Maya wanted to explain more, but the principal didn't listen. She stood up, took the suspension notice, and left the office quietly. She didn't shout or cry, but inside, she felt like her truth was being ignored. Maya sat stiffly in the hard chair, staring at the big oak desk in front of her. Principal Reynolds tapped a pen against a stack of papers, not meeting her eyes. "We don't tolerate bad attitudes here," he said flatly. "You disrupted the class, and disrespected a teacher." Maya's hands clenched in her lap. "I wasn't disrespectful. I was just trying to speak up." He sighed, like he was tired of arguing. "Your tone was unacceptable. That's why you're suspended for 3 days. Maya's throat tightened. She wanted to tell him about everything. How she was tired, worried about her mom in the hospital, how hard she was trying to keep up with school and take care of her little brother. But the words wouldn't come out. "Is there anything else?" Principal Reynolds asked, looking ready to end the meeting. Maya shook her head, fighting back tears. She took the suspension notice he handed her, feeling the cold paper in her hand. When she walked out, the hallway was loud with students rushing to class. No one noticed her. Her heart ached, but she didn't cry. She felt small, but something inside her stayed strong, like a quiet fire. She didn't understand why telling the truth felt so wrong to the people in charge. The night before, Maya sat at the kitchen table, the only light coming from a small lamp. Her mom was lying in the bedroom, resting after surgery. The house was quiet except for the soft beep of the hospital machine they'd brought home. Maya's little brother, Jamal, was asleep on the couch. She didn't want to wake him, but she also didn't want to be alone with her worries. She rubbed her tired eyes, and looked at the textbooks spread out in front of her, history notes, math problems, and a list of vocabulary words. She'd been studying all night, but her mind kept drifting back to her mom's hospital bills and the empty fridge. Her hoodie was worn and faded, but it was the only warm thing she had. She wore it almost every day, even to school. Maya was tired, not because she didn't care, but because life had been hard lately. School felt like a place where she had to hide her struggles. If people knew, maybe they'd treat her differently. Or worse, they'd pity her. She whispered to herself, "I just want to do my best." And that's why, when Mr. Benton said those things in class, it hurt more than it should. Maya wasn't trying to be rude, she was trying to be heard. Maya spent her suspension days alone in her small bedroom, the walls feeling closer than ever. But instead of hiding, she decided to speak out. She wrote a letter on her phone, and posted it on social media. It wasn't just a letter, it was her truth. "I was suspended for speaking up in class," the post began. "But I wasn't disrespectful. I was tired, worried about my mom, and just trying to share what I know." She wrote about her home life, the hospital visits, the bills, the long nights studying while her little brother slept. She explained how it felt to be judged for having a bad attitude, when really she was fighting battles no one saw. The post caught fire quickly. Students shared it. Parents talked about it. Teachers whispered in the halls. Suddenly Maya wasn't alone. Other students started telling their own stories, about times they were punished unfairly, about being ignored or silenced when they tried to speak. The school was buzzing with questions. Why was Maya treated this way? Was this happening to others? Maya's post wasn't just a story, it was a spark. The next morning, the school was different. The quiet whispers from Maya's post had turned into loud conversations. News crews arrived outside Eastbridge High. Reporters asked questions. Cameras followed students and teachers in the halls. Principal Reynolds felt the pressure. He called a meeting with the school board and the district office. "We have to handle this carefully," he said, trying to stay calm. But everyone could tell he was worried. The district started an investigation into the suspension. They looked at school policies and talked to students. Mr. Benton, the history teacher, was placed on leave while they reviewed his behavior. The school announced a special forum, inviting students, parents, and teachers to talk openly about respect, fairness, and student voices. At the forum, Maya sat quietly, watching others share their stories. Some students thanked her for being brave. Others talked about feeling scared to speak up before. It was the first time many felt heard. A week later, Maya stepped back into the hallways of Eastbridge High. The air felt different, less heavy, more alive. Students turned to look as she walked by. Some smiled. A few clapped quietly, whispers floated around, but this time they weren't mean. She felt nervous, but also proud. Her heart beat fast as she passed by groups of friends and teachers. Principal Reynolds didn't say a word. He avoided her eyes like before. Then, near the library, a new teacher approached her. "Maya," she said softly. "Thank you for speaking up. You made a difference." Maya smiled, the first real smile in days. She realized she wasn't just the quiet girl anymore. She was someone who stood for what was right. That small fire inside her, the one that didn't go out in the principal's office, was burning stronger than ever. Maya's voice echoed softly, as the screen faded to black. "Sometimes telling the truth makes people uncomfortable, but silence is worse." A simple message appeared on the screen. "Stand for truth, even when it costs you."